first edition of Hackers and Gaming News. I'll be your host, Blackwater. What we're going to talk about on this video in our first one is going to be man-in-the-middle attacks. What man-in-the-middle attacks are is basically when you manipulate maybe a type of hardware and you would kind of reverse engineer it. You would add like some type of microchip controller, programming chip, something that allow you to, solder a few wires on something and bypass the circuitry. And by doing that, with a voting machine, you can basically get it to where it'll vote for, whoever you want. You could get it to where it would error out and tell an admin they had to come over to it and, one of the voter people and go over and correct it. And when they would correct it, they might hit like a cancel button that would cast one vote. And then when they go to actually vote for their candidate, they could, cause like certain buttons can be programmed through that microchip to be a button it shouldn't be. And it could cast votes. Even if somebody votes for one person, it could vote for the opposite person. And that just goes into the video back here playing over my left shoulder. Or it's actually your right, my left. And it's pretty scary that, how fixed elections can be just because we went to computers. We're just getting way too far ahead of ourselves with technology and relying on computers too much. There's a lot of things that could happen in the future.
First one, second one, and third.
In this next scene, think of the pressing of four numbered keys as the voter selecting four candidates. Think of the OK button as the Vote Now button that would register the votes. When this button is pushed, the Alien microprocessor blocks the Vote Now button, very briefly blanks the screen so the voter is unaware of what is happening, quickly votes for four different candidates, then executes the Vote Now function to record the wrong votes.
Entering the numbers 4, 5, 6, and 7, generating incorrect PIN code. This attack, what we're going to do is we're going to enter the same 4, 5, 6, and 7. When I hit the OK button, the circuitry inside the machine will clear the incorrect PIN numbers, insert the correct PIN numbers, and then forward to the supervisory menu screen.
Let's see that again and note that we blank the screen out. This is important because when the voter hits the Vote Now button to register his votes, he can blank the screen and then go back and vote differently, and the voter will be unaware that this has happened. The clicking sound with additional voting can be toggled on and off remotely, so there will be no indication to the voter that additional voting is taking place. You could certainly miniaturize the alien electronics we've inserted inside the voting machine, making it much harder to detect. But since almost no one opens up voting machines to check for alien electronics in the interior, this is probably unnecessary. Note that there is no soldering or damage to the printed circuit board, so that when we're done with the attack, we can simply remove the alien electronics, and there's no evidence whatsoever that tampering ever occurred. While this is not uncommon, it should not be this easy to gain access to the interior electronics of a voting machine. Attackers need merely to cut out the connector, allowing access to the interior of the electronics. This can then be repaired cosmetically, but because almost no one checks this connector, it probably isn't even necessary to do that.
The voting module can be removed from the base simply by sliding. This gives you access to the printer pins, therefore you do not need to pick the lock in order to gain access to the printer.
This is a test printout from the printer and demonstrates that we can control what is being printed.